I'm going to talk about survival mentality. And while James eats this Grand-Maman Marie sponge cake thing with some plum compote. And then I guess he wanted to finish off his thoughts about sports heroes. Can you not do that right now?
Okay.
Okay, now you can. So you can go ahead and have whatever you want of that compote. Do you need me to open the jar for you?
Let's see. Oh, yeah, it looks like.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. Ooh, it is hard. You might not get any. Holy moly! They must have used a robot to stick this on, because you're not getting any. Nope.
Yes,
So it goes.
Anyway.
Another day for the plum compote.
Yep.
Well, we know that jar's sealed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boy. Anyway. So, I guess it's a good thing you brought your dinner out, because you're not going to get the treat as fancy as it would have been.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway. So, I watched half of this, but the last part was in the first, and so I accidentally watched the last half, and it took me a long time to figure out. I accidentally started with disc 2, thinking it was disc 1. I didn't catch my mistake until lecture 5, which is really long into. That's almost the end of the disc, right? Because there's 6 lectures on each disc. So lecture 5 was actually lecture 11, and therefore my notes are mostly from the video lectures, which I have now labeled correctly, but there's some of the, because what I do is I go along, I'll read the chapter and I'll write notes, and I'll watch the video, write notes, right? And so now they're all mixed up. What do you do? Anyway, so this is Professor Nancy Zars, and she's from the, she has a, I guess it's some sort of a PSYD. What is that? It's like it'd be some sort of psychological degree, I bet. Anyway, from the Chicago School of Professional Psychology, where she was a prof. It might not be psychology, but it seems like it would be. In 2020 when this was published. So, lecture 7, I'm going to start out making decisions under pressure. The officers follow a framework to remove, contain the emotions and the external pressure. In hostage situations like the life priority policy, the safety of the hostage takes precedent over everything else. They cannot do anything that risks the safety of the hostage. Action feedback loops. Things happening in real time dictate decisions made and outcomes. The available info may be inaccurate, incomplete, and confusing, yet decisions must be made. Story building. Trying to create an explanation for what you see. Pre-playing. Conducting a mental evaluation in order to check for holes in your theory. Recognition. Prime decision making. Assess the situation as soon as possible, whatever info you have at hand. Satisfice, not optimize. Make the most of what you know and act. Construct your narrative carefully. And this is all a part of step 3 now. Availability heuristic? Giving more importance to info that's more memorable, whether or not that info actually carries more significance. We're more afraid of plane crashes than car crashes, even though, statistically we shouldn't be, right? Illusory correlation, perceiving a relationship between variables that are not related. Violent video games and movies are correlated with violent behavior, but not causal. Primacy effect, leaping to judgment after gathering comparatively modest info. Recognition, prime decision making, revise plan with incoming data. Utilize your knowledge, skills, and ability. Learn from mistakes. Psychological safety, the confidence to make mistakes without penalty or punishment. In environments where more mistakes are reported, less mistakes are actually made. What matters more than the error is the recovery. Loop. 1. Observe. 2. Orient. 3. Decide. 4. Act. 5. Repeat sequence. 80 to 90% of communication occurs non-verbally. Lecture 8. Developing situational awareness. All individuals' locus of control is based on how strongly people agree with these statements. 1. I have little control over things that happen to me. 2. There is really no way I can solve some of the problems I have. 3. There is little I can do to change many of the important things in my life. 4. I often feel helpless in dealing with the problems of life. 5. Sometimes I feel I'm being pushed around in life. 6. What happens to me in the future mostly depends on me. 7. I can do just about anything I really set my mind to. And you know what? I would answer those questions differently according to different circumstances. So, I mean, I really don't know how this really shows a person's, an individual's locus of control, because realistically, sometimes you don't have control over the situation. No matter how much you want to think you do, you're in the clouds. If you think like, say, James's situation with being sick. Oh yeah, I could decide, I don't feel like taking him food and whatever, and let's just figure out what happens. Oh well, you know, it's not going to be a very good outcome. So yeah, I could have control over a lot of situations, but boy, would I ever be a jerk if I chose another. So anyway,
With me walking around, I gotta make sure I got my, at least one hand supported on something.
so how's the sponge cake? Sorry it didn't have the compote. It's probably way worse now, because sponge cake is supposed to soak up the sauce like a sponge. I got no sauce. Compote was not open.
It tastes so sweet, it's incredible. So
Good. I'm glad you like it.
I wasn't gonna eat much of it, but you notice.
Yeah, well, I was looking at it and I was thinking, oh, if only, you know, we were out picking blueberries with my grandma and whatever, but right now her health is not good. James' his health is not good, and it's not a year for blueberry picking, although I bet you those blueberries were really dense this year. The Saskatoon sure were.
Well,
So whoever got out there and got to pick them, lucky you.
the time is gone for that, I think, but yeah. I was gonna save it for later, but you notice I keep on.
Yeah.
But it's incredibly sweet.
Oh, good.
I hope you
Well,
save
then
half.
I
of it
did
for
save
yourself.
half for myself, but if it's incredibly sweet, you know I won't want it. I'll probably just end up bringing it to you.
Okay.
I don't have a sweet tooth like James does. Oh, with external locus of control, one feels controlled by the situation. Those with an internal locus of control seek solutions to their problems. Well, I mean, you could seek all you want with some situations, and you're not going to find a way to control to solve the. I mean, or your solutions won't be very good. I mean, you don't always have very much control over things. So anyway, it's good to be realistic about things, but still optimistic. Still try to, okay, what can I do given the circumstances, right?
Yeah.
Those with an external locus of control rely on emotional support or other indirect coping efforts. People with an adapt. The more observant, open-minded, and the more flexible our mindset, the more informed our decisions and creative our solutions. And thus, the better our actions when they matter most. The first 30 seconds of an emergency may determine who lives and who dies. When all of the contents of a room are on fire, but there is no ventilation, smoke fills the room and it quickly reaches 1200 degrees Fahrenheit, the ignition temperature of carbon monoxide. Heavy, thick, boiling smoke is highly flammable. The smoke itself catches on fire, and there is a sudden burst of everything in flames. Even the air catches fire. If you're in the room, you have you have 6 seconds to get out or die. So she said, jump out the window. You don't have time to think. It's easy to get lost in a room with fire. Firefighters use their hose to orient themselves. It's things you don't think about, really, you know, but I hope to never have to, right? But the thing is, that basically she was saying, don't think. You need to train yourself so that you're already prepared, so you just know to jump out that window, right? Or whatever.
Yeah.
Lecture 9, perseverance towards a positive outcome. True instinctive fear is always the result of something that is happening right now, and it always needs and deserves your attention. Survivors never give up. Not everyone who perseveres survives, but everyone who has survived has persevered. Control of attention dimensions. Intensity, duration, and flexibility. Intensity is whether you can concentrate hard enough. Duration is whether you can concentrate long enough. Flexibility is whether you can shift your attention when necessary. All are pivotal. Athletics provides strength, like internal locus of control, and the ability to sustain attention on a task. Many performance activities can develop the same. Playing an instrument requires attention. Managing emotional arousal is crucial to avoid having your attention swayed from the situation. Manage emotion, don't suppress them. Fear and hope are allies in getting through a situation. A positive attitude increases chances of survival. Survival arc, disbelief. People don't want to acknowledge the disaster is unfolding right before their eyes. Deliberation, accept it but don't know how to react. Fear infuses every stage of the survival arc, occurring at a visceral level. Preparation helps to counter the physiological responses in your body. The more you prepare, the more automatic your responses will be. Muscle memory. Conditions for panic. Panic follows. 1, fear of being trapped. 2, a conclusion of helplessness. 3, a feeling of being alone, even in a crowd. Pay attention to the way you talk to yourself. Does that voice question your self-worth? Be gentle with yourself. Confidence results from an accurate assessment of your abilities. Cognitive restructuring. Understanding the impact of our thoughts on our behavior. Should is possibly a more negative word than can't. It's a scolding, deflating word. Your negative self-talk is the one doing the scolding. Law enforcement and military are trained to see each other as family. Lecture 10, protective factors that increase your odds. Intuition is the result of learning from past experiences. Police training involves developing and refining intuition. One effective way to decrease level of arousal is with targeted breathing exercises. When faced with danger, we instinctively collapse our shoulders, lower heads, and suck in our diaphragms in order to protect our bodies. With breathing exercises, you can teach yourself to keep your head up and maintain slow, deep breathing to keep your heart rate low. High IQ, easygoing personality serves you well. People who ruminate tend to hold grudges. It can be difficult to maintain a positive mindset when you keep replaying negative situations. Pro-social involvement buffers us against stress. Productive activities that help others help us too. Community can be a powerful motivator if you're engaged in it. 66% of people globally say that they are a part of a religious group. 2/3 of people rely on their faith in times of extreme stress. Faith can be a protective factor. The more robust the social support network, the better. True leadership is about relationships and respect. Lecture 11, resilience in the aftermath of trauma, characteristics of resilience. General resourcefulness, sturdiness, and flexibility. Post-traumatic growth. Optimism helps us better solve problems. Characteristics. Self-reliance. Compassion, wisdom. She's really pro-Nelson Mandela. Lecture 12, we survive together. The power of community. She's really pro-Winston Churchill. If you think you can, you will. Have an internal locus of control. When emo is high, judgment is low. Your beliefs become your thoughts, and your thoughts become your words. If you believe you have the power to create your future, you do. That's what she says. So that's what I'm going to leave you with, because that's what she left us with. And it's a pretty important thing to feel. It's good to feel that you have the power to make your life wonderful, or to be healthy, or to be happy. So, what will it take? What changes can you make to steer the ship into the right direction, right? So, anyway, that's I actually enjoyed this. I enjoyed listening to this. I haven't listened to the first DVD now because after, I was going through and I'm like, oh, well, the first one doesn't seem as good. You know, but you never know. It could be better. So I'm going to have to go through it. Even though the end, really, the last lectures were very, very good, I thought. So, I mean, it's short. This doesn't take long. It's just 12 lectures. So. May as well give it a listen. It's kind of empowering, really, listening to that stuff. So try it out. I don't think it hurts to listen to stuff that feels sort of empowering.
Yeah.
I don't think it could hurt anybody. I mean, I will say that there's a place for acting quickly. When you don't have all of the information, you have to act in an emergency. You have to act quickly. It's an emergency, and it's good to be practiced. And most of the time, though, it's not good to live your life as though everything's an emergency and you have to act quickly. It's good to actually plan things through so that you don't have emergencies.
Yeah.
That really is the best way to act through life.
So, Tom Petty's first tip. You don't have to live like a refugee.
No, you don't. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Tom Petty.
Mm-hmm. So, one of the important things is anticipating stuff. And don't get in a situation where you have to be always escaping.
Yeah, all of my dreams used to be run and hide, run and hide, run and hide. That's all I would dream when I would go to sleep. It was really
It used to
stressful.
worry me.
But I don't anymore. I don't dream that. That's not my dream. Although I've been having weird dreams lately. It's been the same one I'm waking up to, which is, I think it's a message, right? If I'm waking up to the same, I'm getting a message.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I'll figure it out.
That was KLA.
It was. Was it okay?
Thank you.
I steamed it. Do you like it better steamed than raw, or?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
I appreciate you doing it. You don't have to.
It kind of looked grosser steamed.
A little bit. It's a little easier to chew.
Oh, well, that's good then.
But it's probably healthier. Just fresh. But believe me, that's going to kill what ails me. And that's what I need right now. Lots of kill.
I don't know, I think you need more zinc. Like that'd have a lot of calcium in it. And I think it's probably better for you to have the zinc. But you are eating a lot of zinc though, right?
Or with oysters too.
Yeah.
So
you should be okay.
And
those plums would have been great.
So it goes. I mean, this stuff's so
We'll get
sweet.
to eat them at a different time then.
This stuff's so sweet, it's incredible.
All right, well, I guess you can talk about your sports stuff that you wanted to talk about, James, because I don't have anything else.
I'll talk about some of them. So we were talking about my favorite football players.
Yeah.
And, pretty quickly on when we hit Canada, 64. My favorite U.S. football team, I preferred the Canadian Football League. And show-wise, I still do. We're the Green Bay Packers. So, who's ever heard of Green Bay? Who's ever heard of Packers? They were named after maybe close to the only industry in town.
And by that point in time, in the 30s, they'd been the best football team. Better than Chicago, their main rival, Chicago Bears. And then they had a resurgence in the 60s. And it was a fairly white team. Much time.
You have 10 minutes.
Yeah, good. So we were unusual. There was a guy called Jim Brown, or James Brown, Jim Brown, the greatest running back ever. And he played for the Cleveland Browns. It was a funny sort of thing. Paul Brown was his coach. They were called the Cleveland Browns. And it's like they were the second best team in the league. They were very well coached, and they depended on the run. And Jim Brown, I should say, was in the league for maybe 9 years. And he led the league in rushing 8 years. 1 year he didn't. Maybe it was the last time a white guy led the league. Played for Green Bay. His name was Jim Taylor. He's tough. They're both tough. I never liked fullbacks. The guys that did the rough stuff running. I liked the guys that were fast and escaped people. But Green Bay was weird because they had ordinarily two guys who run. One guy runs up the gut, and one guy runs around the end. This is American football. And Green Bay was maybe the last team to have both their running backs white guys. And so for American football, for that first little while, in the mid-60s, when Green Bay was winning, I liked Paul Hornung. He's a white guy. He also kicked their points after. It was incredible how many points he scored. He'd score touchdowns, and then he'd score field goals and converts and stuff like that. Paul Hornung. And, we were Green Bay, a bunch of racists. Now I can remember seeing a highlight of a guy who was just a walk-on. Green Bay. There was a guy called Willie Wood. Small guy, maybe above my size, average size. And I can remember they were showing him jumping and grabbing hold of a crossbar. So he played defense. I don't know who all they had that was black, but he was a little African-American fellow. He made it in as a walk-on. That means he wasn't a prospect. He just came in off the street, and they'd been racist, and they would have told him, get lost. And, like the guy who was coaching Green Bay at that point in time. They call I think their championship trophy now, the Vince Lombardi Trophy. It's named after him. Now, they say about Vince Lombardi, one of his players said he was absolutely useless on Sunday. That's when they played their professional football games. He'd just be raving. But he said it didn't matter. Everyone was prepared on the outer days leading up to Sunday. They'd say that this guy, what he believed in was the power swing. And he had everything laid out. He'd give kind of like seminars or stuff like that, the power swing. All the options. That's offense. Of course, defense, I don't know how he prepared, but when you went in and played, they should do this for the Super Bowl. They go and play some fancy place down in the southern United States. They won the first 2 Super Bowls. But up until then, when you were playing the championship game, Green Bay was the best. And you had to go play it for Green Bay. And for American, That's like playing at the uniform. And, like he didn't have
I
heaters.
think a leaf fell in your food.
They didn't have, Vince Lombardi, as I recall, didn't have heaters in the side. He wanted his players to get warm playing.
Yeah.
And totally. The one championship of the NFL. This is they knew whoever won this game would win the Super Bowl the next week against because AFC's they just united, and they were playing against Dallas, and Dallas had a guy called Tom Landry, and boy oh boy, he had his teams prepared. And I was listening to a TV that was all busted except for this. This was something like 67. Probably 66. And I was so nervous. It came to the last play of the game. And the greatest, one of the top 3 quarterbacks of all time in the United States, this guy called Bart Starr. You caught that, all you fans of, who's that idiot? The guy won 7 championships. Bart Starr won 5, and he didn't have a big, long career. They can extend careers now with medicine and so on and so forth, sports medicine. Bart Starr, I think, led the league in passing 5 times. Tom Brady, that's what I'm talking about. Twice. Are you listening? And Bart Starr could actually run. Guy was a stud. I mean, he wasn't a great runner. Not like Patrick Mahomes or whatever, but the guy was built. He was a real athlete. And I can remember the final play of the game. I was listening to it. It was Green Bay on the 1-yard line. They had to score a touchdown. And I had images of him just, they didn't, they're handing it off. It was just it was called the quarterback sneak. I had images of him just barely crawling over the line. It wasn't until maybe the last 5 years I actually saw it on TV. Because again, I was listening to it on a broken TV. I just had this on. And it's Lombardi had his players prepared. What happens is they're on the 1-yard line. Usually all you do is you just sneak across. It was stunning. It was like watching an atomic bomb go off. What happened is the Green Bay Packers blockers just wiped out. It was incredible. These studs, the Dallas Cowboys, it's like they all just disappeared. Boom! And Bart Starr beat it across. That's how Vince Lombardi prepared his players. They went out there and they were prepared and they were tough. This was, I'm pretty sure up in Green Bay, it was cold. Man, oh man, I never would have imagined it. But they were.
But what?